From a young age, we are taught to be creative, making songs about anything and everything. In primary school, we'd write songs about what we were learning in the hope that the lyrics and the melodies will help us to remember. It's these creative processes that help us throughout all fields in our lives, allowing us to learn, cope, deal and explore what's going on in our heads. Creativity is a learning process of its own, and often a therapeutic one. What about those who turn to creativity as an escape? Those who write poetry, create music or art or act to articulate how they feel. Does the creative process always help, or does it make things worse? Is it possible to be creative if we're happy? If you were given a scale to decipher the relation between mental health and creativity, where would you draw the line?
People are connected through music. It's like things like Spotify. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's a whole it's a network. People connected through it. There's connections everywhere. Creativity is a positive outlet for anyone, regardless of whether you have mental health issues or not. Music's like for me, it's kind of like a guardian angel in a way. Without it, things would be a hell of a lot more complicated and difficult. Quite recently, we lost my uncle, and we used music to help us grieve and help us remember the good things and the good times. He used to love like the A-Team and Star Wars, and we made a medley of like all the theme tunes and stuff like that. We put them all together and we played it at his funeral. Like, that's what he loved, and that's how we remember him. We remember him in his good moments. Yeah, it's just how it helps you to remember the good times in bad moments. It's very powerful. It's very powerful music. Music has memories connected to it. Just listening to a piece of music is like, wow. Like you can feel so many emotions just by listening to a piece of music, and you can feel it through any form of art, writing, acting. A lot of the creative arts have motives behind them that reflect the idea of emotion, whether it's good, whether it's bad, but a lot of the most powerful things come from the bad side, in my opinion. And a lot of people can connect with it, and those people who can connect with that also tend to follow in creative footsteps.
I think there is a link between mental illness and creativity, because creativity is such a good way to use as an outlet to cope with mental illness, whether that be acting or dancing or writing. I feel like if you are a creative person, you feel things more deeply sometimes. I feel like you can use things in your life that make you want to create, so you can turn a really sad moment into a moment of creativity. And I always feel most inspired to create when I'm around other people, because if you can all put the things you've been through together, you can create something wonderful. Like in acting, you can use emotional memory a lot to help you convey what you want to put across, and having experience in that obviously makes your performance more believable and more real, because you believe the things that you're saying. I find it definitely easier to act sad because you can put so much more into it. With acting, I can put the emotions that I feel into that, and I'm someone else. It's not me, which I feel like really helps you put all of your anger and upset into something else and into another person almost. I would continue to act if I didn't have any issues with mental health. I don't feel like it's two things that you have to have. Like, maybe some people are creative and don't face any mental health issues. Maybe some people have mental health issues and aren't creative, but it's a completely individual situation.
It was a way of knowing that I was alive, to be in that emotional pain. And I also thought that that made me a better actress, which it didn't. I thought all the great actors were tortured people, and I thought I had to be one in order to be good at my job.
I think people who are creative think on a deeper level. Creativity is about not seeing something at face value, like exploring it and going into more depth. And I think when you look at the world with creative eyes, you see everything that's wrong with it, and just looking at things on a deeper level, it's, I don't know, it can depress you, and also just that constant exploring and thinking can send you into a downward spiral, or any, like, I don't know, it can just complicate things. So in that sense, I think there is a relation. And also, if you look at the industry, there's numerous people who suffer with the same problems. I know in the acting group that I go to, there are people who suffer from OCD, like identity issues, and famously Robin Williams, who was a great comedian, suffered terribly with depression, and it led him to end his life. So, of course, there's a link between mental health and creativity.
We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race, and the human race is filled with passion. And medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for.
I have suffered from OCD for quite a few years now, and something that's always helped me since probably about a year into suffering with it, I started to write, because I'd always heard of it as people writing for therapeutic reasons, but I don't know, I always thought of poetry as some like soppy thing from films and never really took it that seriously until I started writing myself. There's a lot of writers, some of the most famous ones that have struggled with mental illness, like Sylvia Plath, very famously suffered with depression her whole life, and throughout her writing career you can see it reflected in some of her best work. So I do think that mental illness is quite central to poetry and is often something that crops up a lot no matter what kind of poetry you're reading from what kind of authors in what time. I definitely think that writing is something that I'm going to do my entire life because it's become so integrated into my daily life that I think it'd be very hard of a habit for me to get out of. But I do find that in the periods of time in which I feel more mentally well, I do tend to write significantly less, because it's hard to write happy poetry when the majority of the poetry I started writing was sad poetry. So I do think I will continue to write, but me being mentally better will make my poetry take a different